Yes, we are at the home of the Kitchener Rangers, and just to put an exclamation point on that, we'll only be here 10 more times for the rest of the season after tonight, but we've talked an awful lot about the schedule for the Kitchener Rangers, which has been home heavy through the first half. I'm Mike Farwell alongside Chris Pope.
Hi.
Jordan Malcolm, our producer, back at the boardwalk, and it's Rangers Firebirds for the fourth time this season. The Flint Firebirds have won 2 of the first 3 meetings, including a 7-1 drubbing of the Rangers at the Dort just a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure that's fresh in the Kitchener Rangers' minds, but the goaltender, Chris Pope, that the Rangers had that night is not in the lineup tonight. Jackson Parsons got the start. Pavel Chayan was battling a bit of an injury, and you know that the team was reluctant to go to the backup that night because Parsons was in for all 7 goals against. Who was the backup, you ask? Marcus Vandenberg, who made his first appearance in the Ontario Hockey League Tuesday, coming in to relieve an injured Jackson Parsons. Looked good, keeping the Rangers in the game and winning against Owen Sound, although Vandenberg didn't get the win. He gets the start tonight against the team that has scored the second most goals in the Ontario Hockey League. What a lucky kid.
The poor kid, right? But this is a guy who, I just want to go back to that Tuesday night. Young kid playing junior B hockey, up with the OHL. He's on the big stage. He's where he wants to be in his career development. And he gets put into the game, and after the game, in an interview with radio and newspaper, the first thing out of his mouth was, "I hope Parsons okay." That, to me, says a lot about the individual that we're watching here get the start tonight. Because for a kid to have that big of a moment in his own life, and the very first thing out of his mouth is, "I hope my teammate of a week is okay," that says a lot to me about the person that Marcus Vandenberg is. So congratulations to his parents. He raised a good kid. On the ice, I really liked what I saw from him. That's not an easy position to be in. I know as a backup goaltender my entire junior career, coming into a game cold, especially in a 3-1 game when you're not thinking you're going in at all, especially after you've been on the road with the team backing up and they put up a 7 spot on you, you still didn't go into the game. Mentally you're thinking, there's not a shot in HE double hockey sticks that I'm getting into a game with this hockey club. An injury puts you in, and I thought he responded great. He looked calm. He moved really well. He had quick feet. I like what you see from Marcus in his 25 minutes of ice time in the OHL thus far. Massive test here tonight with the Flint Firebirds in town. But for him, it's almost the perfect situation because nobody's expecting anything from him. They expect you to go out. We're talking up here on Press Row. What's the over? What's the over-under? It's going to be a lot of people suspect. So really, you have nothing to lose. Go out there and just play your game, and that's all you can do.
Yeah, and your reward for playing tonight, however the game turns out, is you get to see the London Knights tomorrow afternoon in London. Welcome to the Ontario Hockey League, Marcus Vandenberg.
And welcome to the Ontario Hockey League, Keegan Jackson. He's going to be backing up Marcus Vandenberg because Pavel Chayan's still not cleared to play, and obviously Jackson Parsons' injury on Tuesday. What are the chances we see Keegan Jackson? 0.
Are you sure?
Barring an injury, I hate to say it because of Tuesday night, but I can't expect that they're going to go to a 4th stringer. But this just goes, I know we got to get going on to the Flint topic, but this just goes to show everything that's been going on with this team this season. Injuries, COVID, fans, add into it, you lose both your goaltenders. Mike McKenzie cannot wait for mid-June fasting because it means a reset. And I feel for this hockey club. They're going through something. It seems like every week something different is coming down the pipeline to show some adversity to this team. But you got to keep in mind, this is just the start of the second half. So this adversity could help this hockey club down the stretch.
Don't forget suspensions, but we won't get into that. Something else that has hampered the Rangers this year. Keegan Jackson, kid out of Jarvis, Ontario, playing with the Welland Junior Canadians. 3.49 goals against, average 900 save percentage in 23 appearances so far this season in the B loop. Okay, let's move on to these Flint Firebirds. Anything but the B loop, and the team, as I already mentioned, the second most goals scored so far this year in the Ontario Hockey League. But this Firebirds team, under Ted Dent, perhaps is exceeding expectations and is very much in the conversation in this Western Conference.
It is, and it's one of those teams that nobody's really talking about because of the Londons, the Guelphs, the Sioux. This team, this Flint Firebirds hockey club we're going to see tonight, is is not a team to be messed with. They have the firepower. They have a veteran goaltender, Luke Keplin, in net. And at the start of the year, to talk to these Flint players, they thought they were going to have a team to contend because they have a veteran goaltender in Keplin. Unproven before this year, yes, but he's putting up a ton of great numbers. He's getting a lot of shots, second most shots in the Ontario Hockey League he's facing right now. And he's the backbone of this hockey club defensively because he's making those saves. But this is one heck of a scary offense. You talked about it. Ethan Keplin only playing a handful of games because he was in the American League. They have a guy by the name of Brendan Offence. And that offense goes through Brendan Offence, both on the power play and 5-on-5. This is a top 10 pick to the National Hockey League to the New York Rangers, and he's leading the Ontario Hockey League in goals. This is exactly what you wanted to see if you are the New York Rangers from one of your top prospects. Since he came into this league, he's been scoring goals. He set the points record as a rookie for the Flint Firebirds. He set the goal record for the Flint Firebirds, and they also had a player in their franchise named Ty Delantry. So let's just put that into perspective of what Brendan Offman is doing this season and in his rookie season, and now even in his sophomore. Obviously it should be his third year, but you get where I'm going. He is the be-all and end-all when it comes to the offense of the Flint Firebirds.
Ethan Keplin's a real nice story. You mentioned he's with Abbotsford, the Canucks, in the American Hockey League. He's only played 13 games in this league. He comes in on a 7-game heater with 13 points in his past 7 games. But also, what I like about the story is he is an original Firebird, their first rounder. I think it was 10th overall back in 2017. Nice story for Ethan Keplin.
They've done a really good job, the Flint Firebirds, in drafting and maturing their players that they get. You think back to, it was just a few years ago where this franchise was almost laughed out of the league before they got settled into this league. But they've really turned it around in the last couple of years, and even with some personnel changes during COVID, Ted Dent coming in, the GM leaving, the head coach leaving, they seem to have picked up right where they left off just a couple of years ago. And we talked about this offense. Riley Percy, who will go across the hall with in just a few minutes, he comes over in a trade with Barrie just a couple of years ago and has flourished since coming over to Flint. Career highs in goals, assists, and points this year for Riley Percy, and a guy who's obviously picking up on some of that secondary scoring for this Firebirds hockey team.
You talk about those personnel changes. Joe Birch, who is now the Chief Operating Officer here in Kitchener, was sent in by the Ontario Hockey League to help right the ship when there was all kinds of turmoil in the front office in Flint. So the connections are there. All right, as part of our pregame show brought to you by Harris Law, we always like to look around the league a little bit, Chris, and here's something that I'm just still trying to wrap my head around. I can only think that part of it, at least part of this, is because when we put people up on the pedestal, we like to see if they can't remain there. I don't know what the case is, but I've been hearing scuttlebutt, and it keeps getting louder and louder that some way, somehow, Shane Wright is not who we thought he was, is struggling. I don't know what the description would be, but I keep hearing Shane Wright's name more and more in a why isn't he doing better or why is he struggling kind of conversation. And I frankly don't get it. Is he leading the Ontario Hockey League in scoring? No, but he's played 90 Ontario Hockey League games in his career. A lot of the guys who are ahead of him in league scoring this year have played more than double the amount of Ontario Hockey League games. Situations are different. Points per game in their careers. Only one player ahead of Shane Wright in the points race this year is doing better at points per game, and that's his teammate and line mate, Martin Chromiak. 1.29 for Chromiak per game, 1.23 for Wright. All I'm trying to say is, I think that we place an awful lot of expectations on a young man because he comes into this league as a quote-unquote exceptional player. Maybe it's time we change that language.
First off, I just want to say, for more on this topic, go to our YouTube page, check out Fridays with Farwell. You had a great rant on this. I do believe it is only because of that exceptional player status that people are talking about this from Shane Wright. And we've been spoiled in the past. I'd say the past maybe 6 or 7 years, and you can probably even make it a decade, of just the first overall pick in the National Hockey League draft making that immediate impact. And you look at the Hughes kid who went first overall just a couple years ago. He's getting a lot of talk about being a bust going first overall. New Jersey had that other player, I can't remember his name right now, but he's getting a lot of talk about being a bust as a first overall player. But because you have guys like Crosby, Ovechkin, McDavid that jump in right away, and you can go back even further to Patrick Kane and make an impact right away. There's a lot of pressure on a kid in the Ontario Hockey League that gets that exceptional status. And yes, he was exceptional at his age, but you get into a league where you're playing 20-year-olds as a 17-year-old, and it becomes difficult. He's doing really well. He's a good hockey player. He's going to be a National Hockey League player. We need to stop putting so much expectations on players because they're given a certain status in this league.
So early eligibility, is that a direction we can move in? Instead of granting a player exceptional status and hanging that label on them, you are now exceptional, young man. Let's call it early entry, early eligibility, something like that, and then we can all relax and just watch a kid develop.
I also just want to point out, in Shane Wright's rookie season, he started off really slow.
I was thinking about that. You'll remember, that was back in the normal times.
Yeah.
We'd be on road trips. We'd be following scores after the games we were broadcasting. Oh, Wright scored again. Oh, Wright had a hattie tonight. Oh, 4 points for Shane Wright. That's what happened in his rookie season.
And it was right after he came back from the U17s. Obviously, the schedule is a little different this year in the Ontario Hockey League, with it being backloaded. I expect Shane Wright to have a massive back half, and it certainly helps when Kingston gets a guy like Zayden Wisdom back in the lineup, someone else to contend with, Chromiak, Wisdom, Wright. I have no worry in my mind for Shane Wright in the Kingston Frontenacs this year.
Yeah, and it is almost still a certainty, even now as he struggles, that Shane Wright will be the first overall pick into the National Hockey League this June. All right, we must move along with our Harris Law pregame show tonight from the Memorial Auditorium in Kitchener, getting you set for the Rangers and the Firebirds. Chris already mentioned we'll check in with Riley Piercy in just a little bit from the Flint side of things, but after this break, Mike McKenzie, the head coach and general manager of the Kitchener Rangers, joins us for Off the Top. How do you like your goaltending situation tonight, Coach? We'll find out about that and more as we continue with your pregame show, which is brought to you by Gord Harris and the team at Harris Law. This is Kitchener Rangers Hockey on City News 570.